Good evening, I know. Can you hear me? Yes, you can? Okay. I'm going to get started because the presentation was supposed to start at 6 o'clock. I didn't realize it's already after 6, so we'll get started. We have more people that registered. They may come as we continue with the presentation. So thank you for coming this evening. I really do appreciate your time and attention to this matter. It is of great importance to our district. So tonight I'm going to talk about how we got to this place, why we need a public question for 6 additional teachers, the reliance that this district has on state aid, why we need additional teachers, the tax impact in our fiscally prudent school district, and a Q&A. So first, I'll start with how did we get here. And that goes all the way back to 2011. Back to 2001. From 2001 to 2011, the school tax levy increased 3 cents in 10 years. So we've had an extremely, extremely low tax levy. And that occurred because during that time, the district was growing exponentially, and the district was receiving a great deal of state aid. There was no need to raise the taxes. That's why that occurred. Unfortunately, it leaves us now with a very low tax levy. In the year 2007 and 8, Phillipsburg School District and all school districts in New Jersey lost their Abbott designation. They're no longer called Abbott school districts. And at that point, we were benefiting from their Abbott designation because we were getting a decrease in school tuition for our students who go to the high school. When that designation ended, it increased the tuition. So in 2007-8, we were paying under $6,000 per child for those children to go to the high school. So in 2007-8, for 294 students, we paid just over $1.7 million. I'll tell you a little bit later what that cost 5 years later. Now in 2010-11, the tax levy cap was reduced. It used to be 4%. It was now reduced to 2%, thereby eliminating our ability to increase the tax levy. At that same time, the state of New Jersey took school districts throughout the state, took their surplus and reduced the state aid. Greenwich Township alone lost almost $1.3 million just that year. We lost that amount of money. The budget failed that year, and the Department of Education reduced the budget another $400,000, so we had yet another year of no tax levy increase. We lost 26 positions and 4 programs that year alone. We have not yet recuperated from the losses from the 10-11 school year. That was significant, and it's been ongoing. In 11-12, that was the final year of the tuition increases. So in that 5-year time period, we absorbed a 153% increase. So the per pupil amount went from under $6,000 to $15,000. So in 7-8, when we paid under $1.8 million, by 11-12, we were paying over $5 million. It's a huge amount of money to absorb over a 5-year period for a district that has lost an incredible amount of state aid over the years. The budget passed that year, so we were able to increase the tax levy 2%. We also had a second question that passed, and we were able to reinstate music and world languages that year. In 12-13, the budget passed, tax levy increased 2%. 13-14, the budget passed, tax levy increased, and at that point, we were able to reinstate the art teacher, 2 music teachers, 3 PE teachers, and 2 custodians. So the only way we've been able to reinstate teachers is by, at that point they were called second questions, now they're called public questions. 14-15, budget passed, tax increase. In 15-16, the budget vote was eliminated. So there is no longer a vote on the budget. If we stay within the 2% tax levy cap, the budget automatically just goes through. There is no vote from the community. And then 16-17, 17-18, tax levy increased 2%. In 1819, the residents of Greenwich Township realized a 3.68% decrease in the tax rate. And that's because one of what I call the loans for construction was paid off. So there was a 3.68% decrease in the 1819 school year. Unfortunately, during that same year, the state funding formula was revised via a law, S2. And so our state aid was reduced to $164,000 nearly. And those reductions are going to continue through 2025. So since then, in 1920, we lost $200,000, but the cumulative total was $529,000. In 2021, we lost $167,000 with a cumulative total of $1 million. And in 21-22, we lost nearly $400,000 in 1 year with a cumulative total of $2 million. So as the years continue on, we continue to reduce the amount of money we get in state aid. And school districts have two revenue sources, state aid and tax levy. That's all there is. So our reliance on state aid has been our lifeline. As I said, we've been permitted to increase the tax levy 2% every year. So what does that mean in dollars? The tax levy for the 2021 school year was nearly $11 million. 2% of that allows us to increase the levy just over $216,000. As you can tell, it doesn't go very far when you're talking about two school buildings, almost 700 students, 150 staff members, and two buildings that are in need of major repair. So why do we need 6 teachers? Well, the number of students that we have in district with special needs continues to increase. We have an overall reduction in population, but an increase in students with special needs. And those children with special needs have more intensity of services that are needed. We would like to provide our students with those services in our district to avoid sending them out of district that costs an incredible amount of money. The range for tuition for one child with special needs to be sent out of district ranges anywhere from $50,000 per child to $100,000 per child per year. So we try to avoid that by having as many programs in district as we can. We are also seeing an increase in the number of students requiring basic skills instruction. And basic skills instruction is for the general ed population who need some remediation, a little extra help that they can't get in the classroom necessarily. And we want to maintain our current class sizes, because if we can't hire special ed teachers, our class sizes will increase. And I'll explain that in a few minutes. So why do we need teachers? First of all, state regulations. In the state of New Jersey, programs for students with special needs have group size limits. So if there's a group of children in a gen ed class, you cannot have more than 8 to 10 in that classroom with special needs. If you exceed that number, we are out of compliance and could be fined. Classrooms for gen ed students in grades 1 through 8 do not have group size limits in New Jersey. You can have a class of up to 40 children in gen ed. There are no limits. Our programs for special needs are already at or near capacity. Students with special needs are identified and classified throughout the year. It is not a concrete process. It fluctuates. It's flexible. It occurs throughout the year. We already know of children that will be referred for special ed and evaluated, and most likely will be found eligible. So the number of students that we have in the beginning of the year with special needs isn't the number of students at the end of the year. It always increases. And so, as I stated, if we're not able to exceed group size limits, we have to add sections for children with special needs. Also, we need basic skills instruction for our students. As I stated, we have more students who are in need of remedial services. We have one BSI teacher for ELA in the district, and we have 0 BSI math teachers in the district. So we would like to hire some teachers for our BSI students to get appropriate services. Now, here is an example. On this side, this is an example of what will happen if the public question passes. On this side is an example if the public question fails. So we're starting with a grade level, any grade level, it doesn't matter. We've got 3 sections with 25 students in each section. So this grade level has 75 students in that grade. There is 1 teacher for these 25, 1 teacher for these 25, and in this class, there are 2 teachers for 25 students because this is the classroom where the children with special needs are also included. So the teachers in here, one's responsible for gen ed, one's responsible for special ed. They co-teach. Now, if the public question passes, we need another teacher for these additional students, so we hire another teacher. We're able to do that if the public question passes. So everything remains the same, except this classroom now has 2 teachers, this classroom has special needs students, and this classroom has special needs students. So now, instead of having only 1 co-taught classroom, we now have 2. So we've increased the program to accommodate the children. Now, what happens if the public question fails? Again, we're starting out with the original 75 divided among 3 grade levels. We need another teacher for additional students with special needs, but the public question failed, so we can't hire a teacher. So we have to collapse 1 section, divide students into 2 homerooms, and reassign the teacher to special ed. So that is what it's going to look like. Instead of 3 sections for 75 students, we will have 2 sections for 75 students. Both sections will have special needs students in them, and both sections will have 2 teachers. It does not mean that 37 students are divided by 2 and the class is split, 1 teacher has half, the other teacher has half. It is not what it means. It means that one of these teachers is responsible for the 8 or 10 special ed students in the class, while the gen ed teacher is responsible for the remaining gen ed students. That's the way this works. This is what we are trying to avoid. We're trying to maintain class sizes in the low, like under 25, to avoid class sizes of near 40. So I took these pictures several years ago. This was definitely pre-COVID. And this is a 4th grade class right here in Greenwich Elementary School. This is what a current class size would have looked like at the time. At that time, children were sitting closer to each other. They were not separated out. They didn't have masks on. Again, this is pre-COVID. If we don't get additional teachers, this is what the class is going to look like, because that's what 37 to 40 children look like in a classroom. We can't fit 37 to 40 children in a classroom and maintain the COVID separation that's required. We don't have enough room for that. So that means we will have to utilize spaces such as the gymnasium, and then we don't have room for phys ed. This is a domino effect. This is a classroom for 6th graders. This is what a typical classroom would look like pre-COVID. This is what a classroom will look like pre-COVID with double the number of students in it, or close to 40. Now, the middle school classrooms are smaller in size than the elementary classrooms. So we will definitely not be able to fit students in the middle school seated 3 feet apart, especially now with COVID. So, teacher assignments. At present, based on the data that I have, 4 teachers will go to special ed and 2 teachers will go to basic skills. This could change. We might need all 6 teachers to go into special ed because of the number of students as the number increases. Public question number 3 is on the November 21st ballot. It states, the Greenwich Township Board of Education is asking to raise an additional $600,000 in tax levy funds in order to hire 6 teachers for the purpose of maintaining class sizes. So some of you may think, oh my God, we overpay our teachers. They're making $100,000 a year. You need $600,000 for 6 teachers. That's $600,000. Our teachers in the back of the room will attest to the fact that we don't pay $100,000 a year. But we had to estimate the amount of money that it would cost to hire 6 teachers based on whether they had a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, their years of experience, and their health benefit coverage type. So we estimated $600,000. That's how we came up with that amount. The tax impact. We do not take the tax impact lightly. We are an especially prudent district, and I'll explain that to you in a little bit. But this tax impact for individuals is based on your assessed value, not the market value. So your market value is the amount of money you could sell your house for. So in this particular scenario, this house could sell for almost $400,000. That's not what you base your tax increase on. You base your tax increase on the assessed value, which for this house is $265,000. The assessed value doesn't change. The market value fluctuates based on the market. The tax impact for 6 teachers is $100 per $100,000 assessed valuation. So if your house is assessed at $270,000, which is the average assessed value in Greenwich Township, your taxes will increase $270 per year. As someone said to me the other day, it's not even $1 a day. Again, I'm not making light of this. I understand the impact of increases in taxes. We all have to deal with tax increases. But this is for the betterment of our students to ensure that they get an appropriate education. Fiscally prudent, as I mentioned. According to the 2020 Taxpayer's Guide to Education Spending, which is on the New Jersey Department of Education website, and is the most recent publication of that document, using the 1920 budgetary per pupil costs, we are a K-8 district with between 401 and 750 students. There are different categories for school districts. There are categories for K through 12 school districts, K6, K8. We're a K8 with between 401 and 750 students. The per pupil average, the amount it costs to educate children in K8 districts on average is $17,598 per child. In Greenwich Township, we spend $13,976. We are nearly $4,000 below the state average. So as I said, we are very fiscally prudent. We are ranked 7th out of the 67 schools in our category. That means that 60 school districts spend more on their children than we do. We are also a very high-performing district. Our students meet or exceed the state assessment expectations. Our class sizes average 20 to 25 students. And according to U.S. News and World Report, our middle school is among the top 30% of middle schools in New Jersey. We want to maintain that designation. We don't want to lose it. So we're asking you to vote yes to maintain current class sizes, to provide our students with the needed services in district, and to maintain your property values. If the public question passes, we can hire teachers to start in January of 22. That concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Yes?
I had actually heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that according to U.S. News report ranking, it was actually ranked like in the top 15%.
Yes, thank you. When we actually did the calculations ourselves, Mr. Barrett did it himself, we found out that we were in the top 15%. But U.S. News and World Report does not give a top 15%, they only give a top 30. But thank you, yes, that's true. Any other questions, anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Is your annual budget including everything about $20 million?
I think we're at 17 or 18.
Okay, I was looking from a sheet that I printed off, and it looks like it is 19,951,000. So I said about 20. Have you looked within these figures to see if you can do anything? This is about 5% of your total budget. Can you find anything here that you can cut back a little bit? So rather than maybe 600,000, the public can give you 300,000 if you put in 300,000.
We don't have 300,000 to put in, there is nothing.
Look at this.
Right. There isn't anything left to cut, quite frankly, because since 2010, we've been cutting. We haven't found anything. It really isn't when you consider the needs of the children.
Say some more about that. I'm very interested. It looks like you will have 50 new students who need special education.
Yes,
Say more about that, would you please?
sure.
That's a big number. That's 7% of our population.
Right. That number has increased a great deal over the years. We're getting families that are moving into the district who have children with special needs. When a child moves into the district with an IEP, meaning they have special needs,
And that's pretty basic, or is that really, I don't know the designation.
okay, I'm sorry. All right, all right. A child with special needs could have a minor learning disability where they might need in-class support, a special ed teacher with them to assist them in completing the grade level classwork, okay?
And could you give me a specific example? Would it be speech? Would it be handwriting?
No, it's a learning disability. The inability to learn the way you and I do, they learn differently. Okay, they could have ADHD, they could have dyslexia, they could have any number of mild learning disabilities. All the way to the opposite extreme, where you could have a child on the autism spectrum who needs a self-contained program, a personal nurse, and a paraprofessional to work with them. So it's that wide range. And we don't know what level of severity the children have when they come in. We have to take the IEP that we're given when they move in and provide the service based on that IEP.
And you're guessing there are about 50 new students coming in who will have this to accommodate the $600,000.
No, we already have those 50. We're expecting more. We don't even have,
Where are they coming?
they're moving into the area from wherever they came from. I mean, a lot are coming from East Jersey, some are coming from different states.
And we expect that families moving in will have special needs children.
They have had special needs, yes.
In the past, do we think that each family moving in will have a special needs child?
No, not every family. What I'm saying is the people that have already moved in, we've had 50 extra students with special needs, and we continue to get more families moving in. Plus, there are children in the district who are presenting with difficulties that we may have to test, may have to refer, test, and classify, and then they will need special services as well.
Well, if you have a child with a different learning style, can that be accommodated within the classroom without having a special education teacher helping them?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. The only children for whom we put a special ed teacher in the classroom for are those kids who need it. Not every child needs it, but the children who have it in their IEP need it.
The other question I had, if you're taking two teachers, you're taking a classroom teacher out and putting her in, working into special ed, aren't those certifications, qualifications, all of that totally different?
I only hire teachers that are duly certified in general education and special education. so that they can be placed wherever they are needed. Almost all of our teachers are duly certified. Does anyone else have any questions, sir?
The first one, how many choice students do we have?
We have 28.
I obviously you can't, you get paid by the state for each one of those. Do they cover like the 15,000?
No, we get $8,000 for each choice student we get. And there's a cap on the number of choice kids that we can accept.
Okay. And then, like I said, that would make up the difference. I understand. My second question is, maybe I'm misunderstanding. So Phillipsburg School District received, I believe it's a school district, $39 million for the 2020-2021. This is from the state's website. In aid. None of that goes towards our high school kids.
It does, but we still have to pay tuition.
You still have to pay.
Yep, they're getting an incredible amount of state aid, you're absolutely right, absolutely.
Is there any, and would that state aid change if we became a regional school district?
If we became a regional school district, and we've gone down this path a few years ago, we tried this, it may or may not. It would just depend, because right now that state aid is based on the children that reside in Phillipsburg, the town of Phillipsburg, and those that are educated in the high school. And because Phillipsburg town proper is lower socioeconomic level than Greenwich Township, they get a great deal more state aid than we do. So it might, but I can't guarantee that. Anybody else? Yeah?
Are choice students special ed students?
No. No, their choice students are children whose parents apply, they don't live in town, but they want their children to come here. So they can come here if we have the number of seats available, and then we get from the state $8,000 to $9,000 a year for those children. That's why we opened up the program, because it was a revenue source.
Would we still want them if we had 37 students in a class?
Well, once we're in the program, you can't omit them from the program.
Stop the choice, if you had 37 students in a class.
We could stop the choice program going forward, but the children that are here would stay already. Yes. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you very much. I really do appreciate your coming here. I hope this public question passes. I hope we get the teachers we need. I hope that everyone's property taxes remain high, that the middle school maintains or exceeds that designation. Those are very important for all of us. Did you want to say? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did I say I hope property taxes remain high? That's not what I meant. Property values remain high. Thank you. Oh, my gosh. Property values remain high. So thank you all very much. I appreciate your time.